As Tayuya guides her 3 Doki after Shikamaru, she activates the first level of her cursed seal to control them easier. Meanwhile, Naruto begins his battle, creating a great deal of shadow clones to attack Kimimaro. Kimimaro, however, easily defeats the clones. As the fight between Kiba and Akamaru versus Sakan and Yukon rages on, Yukon pushes his cursed seal into its second level. Recognizing the huge increase in strength that this allows the brothers, Kiba and Akamaru combine to become a giant double-headed wolf. The combined beast charges towards Sakan and Yukon, and bisects them. However, the brothers' internal organs create new legs and arms. Kiba and Akamaru charge at them again, though the brothers are able to use summoning, Rashomon to block the attack. As the wolf transformation disperses, Akamaru is attacked and left heavily injured, but Akamaru manages to pee acidic urine into Sakan's eyes. Sakan goes to wash his eyes in the river, while Yukon merges himself with Kiba's body. Needing to get rid of Yukon to save Akamaru, Kiba stabs himself in the stomach, causing him and Yukon to start coughing up blood. Yukon separates from Kiba, and rejoins with Sakan so that he can recover. Kiba finds Akamaru, and the two flee downriver, hoping to escape the brothers. Naruto, meanwhile, is unable to make a dent in Kimimaro, and his shadow clones are still rapidly defeated before they can land a single blow. Elsewhere, Shikamaru believes to have picked up on the movements of Tayuya's creatures, though she quickly has them switch actions before Shikamaru can act. Despite Tayuya's efforts, Shikamaru devises a plan to defeat the creatures. Using his remaining kunai and shuriken to distract her and her giants, he triggers a flash bomb he had planted above her. The light from the flash bomb extends his shadows long enough for him to trap all 3 of her creatures with his shadow imitation technique. He then tells her that he will be using her very own pawns against her, but Tayuya doesn't seem to care. Shikamaru tells her to at least arm herself, and she tells him that her flute is her only weapon. Shikamaru and her creatures charge at Tayuya, but Tayuya is able to dispel her creatures. Shikamaru voices his frustration, causing Tayuya to laugh at him for thinking he had a chance. However, just as she attempts to kill him, she finds herself trapped by Shikamaru's shadow imitation technique. He tells her that, just like in a game of shogi, the first move is always a fake out, whereas the second move is the final strike. Trapped and unable to move, Tayuya advances her cursed seal to its second state, to use the strength and chakra it provides to break free of Shikamaru's shadow imitation technique. Shikamaru attempts to hold her in place with the advanced shadow neck binding technique, which seems to work, but while her body is kept bound by his jutsu, her fingers are free to move, and she uses her flute to place Shikamaru within a genjutsu. As the genjutsu causes Shikamaru to scream in pain, Tayuya picks up one of Shikamaru's kunai knives, and rushes towards him to kill him. Just as she gets close, Shikamaru punches her in the gut. Wondering how he got out of her genjutsu, she notices that he had manipulated his shadow to break his own finger, and used the pain to break out of her genjutsu. Shikamaru then uses his shadow neck binding technique on her again, telling her that the closer he is to his target, the tighter the bind his jutsu inflicts. As Tayuya berates herself for her carelessness, Shikamaru reveals that it was all according to his plan. Once Tayuya revealed that her flute was her only weapon, he knew that once she thought she caught him, she would need to arm herself to kill him, and that she would pick up that kunai closest to her and come near him to finish him off. As Naruto starts getting frustrated with his lack of progress, Sasuke's cursed seal finally reaches its second level, allowing him to exit his coffin. Sasuke's appearance snaps Naruto out of his Ninetales mood, and he tells Sasuke to return home with him, stating that everyone is waiting for him in Konoha. Sasuke does not comply or respond, instead cackling rather madly, which leaves Naruto enraged. Sasuke leaves the enclosure with Naruto attempting to follow, although Kimimaro prevents Naruto from going after Sasuke, intending to kill Naruto. Luckily, the arrival of the newly recovered Rock Lee blocks Kimimaro's attack, and saves Naruto. Lee tells Naruto to go after Sasuke, reminding him of his promise to Sakura. Lee and Kimimaro begin exchanging blows, though Kimimaro's unique control over his bones makes things difficult for Lee. On top of that, Kimimaro finds Lee's moves to be predictable. Soon after the fight begins, Lee asks for a timeout, so that he can take his medicine. Kimimaro lets him, and Lee drinks the contents of his medicine bottle. Back in Konoha, Guy returns from his mission, and rushes to the hospital to ask Tsunade how Lee's operation went. Tsunade tells him it was a success, and that Lee could begin training as early as tomorrow, only for 2 aides to rush in and claim that Lee is missing. Tsunade realizes that Lee must have gone after the Sasuke recovery team in order to help out. She also realizes that Lee took a bottle of sake instead of his medicine, which causes Guy to freak out. Guy explains that even a sip of alcohol turns Lee extremely inebriated, and reveals that when he is not sober, Lee can be very dangerous and devastating, since he is a natural master at the art of the drunken fist. Back at the clearing, Lee drinks the sake and becomes inebriated. He assumes the drunken fist stance as he prepares to take on Kimimaro. In his drunken form, Lee's movements are too unpredictable and unorthodox for Kimimaro to match. Lee manages to block and counter every one of Kimimaro's attacks. Lee resorts to feigning tactics, such as falling asleep spread-eagled, and he manages to land a hit with his eyes closed and even manages to overpower him. Realizing that Lee is drunk and is using the drunken fist, Kimimaro resorts to using his Kekkei Genkai in order to snap Lee out of it. Kimimaro's tactics work, as Lee sobers up after having his face cut by one of Kimimaro's bones. Back in the forest, Shikamaru's shadow, neck-binding technique starts to slowly give way as his chakra runs out. Shikamaru likens this to the previous time his chakra ran out during the Konoha Crush, in which he was saved by Asuma Sarutobi. Thinking there is no one to save him now, Shikamaru prepares himself for the worst. Meanwhile, Kiba and the wounded Akamaru make their way out of the river and hide behind the trees. However, Sakan disguises his scent using Kiba's jacket and catches the two. At the same time, the now sober Lee decides that he needs to resort to hard-hitting tactics to take down Kimimaro, and decides to open the first gate and use the front lotus. Kimimaro manages to use the density of his bones to absorb the full effect of Lee's lotus kick. Kimimaro then attempts to drill his bones into Lee, only for his bones to be blocked by sand, which dispels Lee backwards. The sand manages to cushion Lee's fall. Kimimaro demands who his new opponent is, and Lee is shocked to see that it is none other than Gaara. In the forest, Tayuya is about to finish off Shikamaru, when she is hit by a powerful gust of wind, caused by none other than Temari. Meanwhile, Sakan is about to kill Kiba with a kunai, when his attack is blocked by Kankuro, who uses Karasa to shield Kiba. The three Sand siblings announce themselves as shinobi allies of Konoha, and prepare to help their former enemies in combat. Kankuro moves to fight Sakan and Yukon, and reveals a new puppet. He then moves his puppets into play, and captures the brothers, quickly killing them. Elsewhere, Shikamaru details Tayuya's abilities to Temari, which the Sand Ninja finds to be no problem at all. She is easily able to deflect Tayuya's sound-based genjutsu with her giant folding fan, and then summons Kamatari, which cuts a path of destruction, leveling the forest and killing Tayuya with ease. In the field, Gaara stands before Lee, and uses his sand to deflect attacks fired by Kimimaro in their direction.